Good morning, friends. It's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. This is Make and Take Tuesday, and I'm here to share our Flower of the Month tutorial. Today we're going to make these gorgeous flowers in this cluster. I've made my card already because I'm short on time this week. I'm telling you, grandkids, birthdays, softball practice, Easter, all the things, they really eat up the time. And not only that, I'm trying to finish up a Button Farm Club kit. So I had to condense things today. But we're working once again with Prima In Full Bloom. I love, love, love. This might be my most favorite springtime collection ever. It just is so lush. So I worked with the 12 by 12 and I used this sheet from the 12 by 12 paper pad to make my card. And then also one of the 4 by 6 journal cards. And this is what I made. This is one of my 5 by 7 Tea Party in a Box cards. And this is a Reneabouquets violet heart frame that I've turned into a shaker with a bunch of buttons galore and more goodies. And you can see I took some of the ephemera from the ephemera pack and created this little beautiful motif on the inside, which I really love. It's so pretty, just so happy. This is really reasonable ribbon, lavender seam binding, and iridescent metallic string, two of my favorites. Heartfelt Creations Lush Lilacs, Reneabouquets honeycomb. This comes in a big sheet and you cut it however you want to use it. I filled it up with some mustard seeds. These are Renee's Darling Little Bees. This is from the ephemera pack. And I'm going to show you how to make these lilacs. And I don't know what to call these. The die, this is an amazing paper grace die and it just says pretty flowers. And I think that's pretty accurate because they are pretty flowers. We'll take a quick peek at the inside. I'm being ginger because some of these things are still drying. But here's that journal card that I was telling you about. And I glued it on a flap just on 3 sides to create a pocket on the inside for a packet of flower seeds. How perfect is that for springtime? Lots of room up here to write your note. And then in the bottom, here's the Tea Party in a Box. I'll just pull this out so you can take a peek. We've got a decorated honey stick with one of those sweet little violets. This is a ticket from the Tickets and Tags pack. And then this is a little envelope that I made with my envelope punch. I put another little tag here with a violet and the bow. This slides off, and then in the packet is a chocolate and a tea bag. It's a Lady Gray, so it's color matched. And then a Biscoff cookie, of course, which are my signature cookies. My grandkids actually say those are their favorite cookies, which is interesting because they're not overly sweet, but they really are good. So all of this goodness lives inside the box pocket. If you haven't ever made a box pocket card or a Tea Party in a Box, you can look on my YouTube channel. I have all kinds of tutorials for Tea Party in a Box cards. So we're going to set this one aside. And I'm going to show you the flower dies that we use. This is that Heartfelt Creations Lush Lilac. This is one of my very favorite collections from Heartfelt Creations. It is just gorgeous. And of course it comes with the stamps. And here's what I love about Lush Lilac. This is the lilac stamp. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lilacs with just one inking and stamping. So that makes it so quick to put together a pretty little floral display. And you can do it like they've done it here and make the actual lilac branch, or you can do it like I've done here and I just tucked the lilacs in as little accent pieces. And when you do it like this, they kind of look like violets. Sort of. If you use your imagination, they do. And then there is the matching die, which just lays over the stamped image and die cuts them all out, boom, just like that. So in no time flat, you've got a bunch of beautiful flowers to work with. And here is the die set. This is Amazing Paper Grace. This was her window grid die. It came with these pretty flowers. This is what I use to make the white and yellow flowers. And then of course, there's all these letters, and there's a banner in here as well. So that is those. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna bring in all my stuff. I'm just gonna show you how to make a couple of these. You can see this one I stamped this onto my lilac paper with, I believe this was lilac, shaded lilac distress ink, and then I heat embossed with clear embossing powder, and this makes it really sturdy. Then to add just a tiny accent, I took this little tiny paintbrush, which I've wrapped up, and I just barely dipped it into white paint and brushed just a tiniest shadow of white into the center of each petal to kind of give it a little more depth and dimension. So since we've got this guy out, we'll go ahead and work with him. I want you to see how easy, I mean, when I say easy, these are really easy to make. So let me see. This is just how it came after being die cut. Take your stylus, push it into the center. That's it, people. That is it. Then I take a little bit of my dries clear adhesive. I put it right in the center. See, just a tiny bit. I bring in a tray. And then these are, I cannot tell a lilac, prills. And I'm just going to pinch and drop some in there and hope they hit the center. I need one more right in the middle. There we go. And then I just tip these out. And see how you get that pretty little, I'll hold it up. See how you get the pretty little center? So the thing to remember about prills is that they are very bouncy. Very, very bouncy. So I always move slowly with prills because it saves me time in the long run. I'm not picking them up from all over the place. They really bounce. So here's this finished lilac. I want to make sure I can get this. There we go. See how beautiful that is? And now I'll show you how I got the little sparkles on there. This is really simple. So I've got a tiny bit of my dries clear glue in this plastic cup. I've got my offset tweezers. I'm going to grab my flower. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this glue. I'm going to brush it over the petals. I'm trying to avoid my tweezers. All right. And now this is Rajni Chawla's Papericious Crystal Clear. This is really sparkly. And I just give it a little bath and tap it off. And there it is, all finished. So beautiful. So that needs to dry for a little bit before you use it, but that's it. That's all there is to making those little lilacs. They are one of my favorite flowers because they're so easy. I always put the lid back on my crystal clear because I have failed to do that in the past, and that's a bad decision. All right, so let me move this out of the way. Now I'm going to bring in these pretty flowers, and they also come with these leaves. Before we shape them, I've got some daubers, and I want to come in with fossilized amber, distress oxide. I'm just tapping in there, and I'm just very lightly doing the center. So I get a little bit around the base, and I'm doing along the ends. Now you don't have to do the petals, the ends of the petals if you don't want to, but I kind of liked the way that turned out. Same thing with the smaller size. You want to use the smaller and the larger together to make the flower that is on the card, or you can use 2 of the small ones together to make a smaller flower, or actually you could even just go with 1 of the small ones together. So that's that. Let me pull a piece of I'm going to put these here. This was a jar of Perfect Pearls mist, and this was called Perfect Pearl. I used it up, but I kept the bottle. You can hear I put beads in the bottom. I just added mica powder and water and made my own mist. And I'm just going to spritz these to give them a little shine. With mist, and you may already know this, always come in and just clean that little nozzle out so you don't end up with spray that won't work. I'm going to set these aside just for a moment. Here's our little leaves. And where'd my daubers go? I have 2 colors of, here they are. I have 2 colors of Distress Oxide. One is Shabby Shutters. And again, and if you look at the leaf, you can see one side is engraved. The die does that, which is so cool. And I'm going to put the Shabby Shutters in the middle. And I'm just lightly rubbing this on. And sometimes you get a little on your fingers, and if you do, it's not the end of the world. And then I'm coming in with peeled paint. And I'm just doing the same thing. I'm picking it up. And this time I'm going to skip around the outside edges of the leaf. And what this does is it creates a sense of depth. Your leaf ends up looking a little bit more real. And I'm just going to tap, tap. So see, instead of having a leaf that is all one color, you've got a little bit of variation there, which, you know, real leaves have. So I'm going to set this on my scrap paper. And this is Perfect Pearls. This is green patina. And this bottle is giving me a hard time. I cleaned out the nozzle and everything, but we'll see if we can get it to spray. No, it doesn't want to spray. So here's what I'm going to do. Shake it up real good. Get all that mica powder in there. All right. I'm just going to try to pour a tiny little puddle. Okay. It's bigger than I wanted, but not, again, not the end of the world. I'm going to dip my leaf in the puddle. And that does 2 things. It activates that distress ink so that it's going to blend really nicely. And then it gives it the tiniest little bit of shimmer. All right. All right, our flowers should be ready to work with now. And you can see, this is what these look like. This is that stage where I've sprayed them and inked them. Now we're going to bring these in. I'm going to put them face down on my molding mat. I'm using the larger stylus, not the biggest one in the Heartfelt Creations, but the next one. And I'm just pressing these leaves, these petals, toward the center. Then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to round it out like this. And I'm going to press down to get it to look, give it a lot of dimension. See these little ragged edges? I'm just pinching these between my thumbs. And you want to wet your paper before you shape your flowers anyway, because it releases the starch that's in the paper. and then your flower will hold its shape. So there's that one. Do the same with the smaller one. Flip it. Some people call this cupping the flower. I call it raising the leaves. And then we're just going to come in and pinch like we did before. And I wanted these to kind of look like daisies. So instead of doing stamens in the center, I use my Flower Soft. I'm going to show you how to do that next. Okay, so see how pretty that is? And then I'm just gonna, because I don't want it to be perfectly round. I want it to be a little bit organic. So now I'm going to come in with my Dry's Clear. And these are still damp, so I'm handling them with care. And I'm going to stack these and stagger them. And I'm going to press them together. And I'm not pressing hard this time, I'm just doing lightly. Then I'm going to take my Dry's Clear and go in a circle like this. And I'm going to come in with my Flower Soft. This one is called, I want to say this one's called Lion's Mane. Oh, sorry, Citrus Crush. Citrus Crush. And I'm just pinching this and filling the center. All right. Then I'm going to tip this out. I'm going to come back in with my glue because I want it to have some dimension. I'm going to put another layer of glue. I'm going to pinch this and tip it out. And that looks good to me. So I'm just going to set that aside to dry. We might as well go ahead and do these. They've dried out a little bit, so I'm just going to hit the back with a little plain water. These have already been mostly cupped. I'm just going to do the pinching. So you can see me do that part again. And you see how it kind of pleats the whole petal? And I think it gives it a more realistic look. I love making handmade flowers. I always like to try to make extra ones so that I have some in reserve for another project. They do take time, but they're really worth it, I think. And the fun thing about making them yourself is that you can coordinate them to work with whatever paper collection you're dealing with. And you can always make the colors match. If you have distress ink or other inks, you can always make a custom flower, and you can use the same die over and over again and just shape it differently, and you're going to get different results. All right, let's put our glue in the center of this one. And then I'm just going to come in. These I'm pressing pretty hard because I had not cupped them adequately. And while the leaves are damp, you can kind of bend them and shape them however you want them to be. I like my flowers to look really organic. They don't look perfect ever. All right, so there's the center. Yep. It's my piece of paper. It's just a whole lot easier to clean up this way. All right. Oops. Okay, I'm going to use my tweezers to pick that up. It just turned into a big glue blob. Wheel. Let's see. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? There we go. And put this into the center. There we go. I'm going to sprinkle a little more on the top and then just leave it to dry before I mess with it. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, we're okay this time. I just think these are so sweet. All right, the last but not the least is shaping the leaves. And I'm just gonna, well, these are still pretty damp, so we're okay. So what I like to do is go around the outside edge and down the middle, and that kind of makes it curl. And then I just press it. And however they dry is however they dry. I don't want them to be perfect. So this one I'm just gonna press and then press. And then when these dry, they'll be ready. And if you wanted to, you know, you could, when they're wet, you can kind of shape them pretty well. This one's a little bit dry, so it's a little harder to shape. But there you go. See, just kind of pinch them, and that'll be a really pretty leaf. Before I put it on, I'll probably come back in and ink the edges with that peeled paint again once it's dry. Then to clean off my mat, I'm just going to take a sponge, get all that mist off there so it doesn't get onto my next project. And that is our Flower of the Month tutorial for March 2024. These little scrubby sponges are great for cleaning off tweezers too. There's an extra tip at no extra charge. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover. Our little flowers, handmade flowers, beautiful on handmade cards, fun ways to do the centers, different looks, combining different sizes and shapes. It really makes a card look pretty. Before we close out, I have an announcement. I'm going to be moving my Tuesday tutorials to Wednesday. I just find that as my grandchildren are getting older, there are more activities on the weekends, and I want to be able to be there when they play softball and act in plays and all those things. And that makes it really hard for me to get these Tuesday tutorials done. Sometimes I'm up until very, very late or up in the middle of the night working on it. So I'm going to switch to Wednesday mornings at 6 o'clock. And I'm also going to, we'll follow the same schedule. We'll do the tag of the month, the banner of the month, the birthday card of the month, the flower of the month. And if we happen to get a 5-week month, we'll do a wild card, something fun. And I'm also going to discontinue Throwback Thursdays. It's just I'm just finding it really hard to keep up with everything. I got a new grandbaby coming shortly, and I want to be there to help my daughter with her new baby. So I'm cutting back just a little bit. And as I have time, I'll throw extras in. I'm committed to the Of the Month series that we started at the beginning of this year. But just look for that on Wednesday morning at 6 instead of Tuesday morning at 6. And we'll continue to have fun making beautiful things. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and share. Invite your friends. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love to have you along for the journey. And that is it for me, Kathy Clement, Kathy by Design. I'm going to clean up this mess and go get my craft on. Thanks for joining me. Bye.